Welcome back to 501 Fridays. Really excited for this one. I'm Brandon Kimbrough, Employee Wellness Coordinator. I have with me again, friend of the program, Megan Arnold from Ohio Health. How are you today, Megan?
I'm so good. Happy to be back.
Yes,
Eager to see what you have for me today, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm super excited to have this conversation. We got great information out of you and had great feedback from the employees last time we did this. So we are running it back with our Ask the Expert segment. I've got 3 things that we're going to ask Megan the expert on. We just want to debunk a few myths, answer a couple questions. Are you ready to dive in with me, Megan?
Oh, let's go, Brandon.
All right, first question. Will strength training make me bulky?
Oh, that's a good one. I love this question. First answer is no. And I like to point out that there's a lot of different terms that we can reference when we're talking to strength training. Resistance training, strength training, lifting weights, bodybuilding. In general, they're all interchangeable and all are simply ways of describing working against a type of force, a type of force that resists movement or a force pushing back on a force that you're generating. And in this instance, it's that force of the weight or whatever it is you're lifting against the force of the muscle that's producing the force against that load. When we do this consistently over time, which is what essentially strength training is, then the muscle is going to gradually get stronger. It's not necessarily going to get larger. And without going too much into the science, in order to build that muscle size, we like to refer to that as muscle hypertrophy. There is a lot that needs to be involved in that. There's a specific workload, specific hormone levels, daily lifestyle habits, for instance, the work to rest ratio, how much sleep you're getting, stress management. And this all needs to be dialed into a T and continued over time, consistently, day in and day out, for those muscles to get larger or hypertrophy. So the long and short of it is no, lifting weights is not going to make you bulky. It does take a lot of effort, a lot of focus and specific program design. But what I really want to focus on in that same answer is how important strength training is to reduce sarcopenia. So sarcopenia is basically the loss of muscle mass, and it's often related to age or disuse. We sit a lot, and when we're not moving our bodies and lifting weights and putting that stress, that good stress on those muscles, then they are going to atrophy. They are going to get smaller. And we really don't want that to happen. We want to limit sarcopenia as much as possible. And that's where strength training is really powerful. And it helps to improve your mobility, your balance, your metabolism is improved, your hormonal levels are improved, sugar control, glucose control, all of these quality of life management systems or processes inside our bodies are improved with strength training. So I really like to encourage that it's going to improve our quality of life.
You know, we don't really think about it in a daily life, but just being able to stand up out of a chair and walk is a form of strength training because we're always being weighed down by gravity. So our body is sort of always kind of resisting against a force in order to just even keep us upright. And so unless you do prolonged strength training in a way, like you said, that encourages hypertrophy and muscle growth, you're not really going to get bulky. I think that's really well said by you and super important, you know, to have that distinction in our head.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And strength training is going to improve that health span too, because if you can't stand up and get out of a chair because your muscles aren't strong enough, then what quality of life is that? So
exactly. Okay, next one. What is the difference between mobility and flexibility?
Oh, yeah. That's a great question. Especially right now, mobility seems to be pretty popular in the fitness industry. So basically, flexibility is looking at the muscle and the length of the muscle and somewhat the tendons and the ligaments and how long can those muscles and ligaments get. So the flexibility is more of the fitness component. And then the mobility is also somewhat related to flexibility. It is how well that joint moves through a full range of motion. So flexibility and mobility, they go hand in hand. It's kind of like peanut butter and jelly. You want the muscles to be able to elicit a lengthening technique, and you also want the joints to be able to move fluidly through that full range of motion. A good call out here too would be to notice that the muscles really do like to work in unison. So if there's one muscle that's not very flexible and there's a lack of mobility in a joint overall, then one muscle may try to do more work, the other muscle might want to take that work back because that muscle's like, hey, this is my job, but the body is compensating for that lack of mobility or lack of flexibility. So it can lead to a snowball effect of improper technique and also imbalances within the body. So they're both extremely, extremely important. And also too, it goes back to that activities of daily living as well.
Yeah. And I think of it as a push and pull, right? In order to make our arm go out, there's something that has to loosen. And in order to make our arm go in, there's something that has to tighten. And if you do those motions, like you said, in that imbalance for too long, you don't have that range of motion and that mobility. That's like the start of how everyone gets back pain. I'm doing a little soft plug here. You may or may not teach a range of motion flexibility class. Tell us a little bit more about that.
I do. If you are unfamiliar with our virtual group fitness schedule, check it out. We do offer classes Monday through Friday that are live and instructor led. I do teach a midday mobility class at noon on Tuesdays every week. And it's a great class. It targets different areas of the body, and it takes the body through those movement patterns that are really important to activities of daily living.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll put a little plug down in the description and attach it to the email of this episode so that you guys can find that virtual class list and start to take Megan's class if you are in the space where you need to work on your range of motion and your flexibility. Okay, last question, and I'll let you get out of here. I like to walk or run outside. How can I minimize my chances of developing shin splints? And I'll expand it to lower leg stress related stuff, whether it's in the foot, the shin, the knee. How do I reduce my chances of having those sorts of issues?
Well, in regards to shin splints or the foot, there's a tendon underneath the foot. Oftentimes, it's a matter of inflammation in these muscles and these tendons in the bone. It's often a result of changing something too abruptly, too quickly, or too much. So that could be an increase in workload. So you're increasing the duration of maybe your run. Maybe you're increasing the speed of your run. Maybe you've changed from a treadmill to moving outside and now you're working on concrete or grass, changing just the surface that your body is used to. And that could even be just a slight change in the terrain. So it's a sudden increase of duration, frequency, intensity, and then it can cause that overuse or inflammation. So the body's just really trying to say, hey, I need a break. These muscles are inflamed. Perhaps the tendons are inflamed. And the long and short of it is you need rest. So if it happens, it's a challenge because those of us who do or who have experienced shin splints know the rest is the hard part. You don't want to stop going outside and enjoying the weather, but it's important to do so if you're starting to feel something happening down there. So the best thing that you can do is start slow. Don't do too much, too quick. If you do transition from running on a treadmill or exercising indoors to outdoors, make sure you're doing it gradually, taking your time and really listening to your body. If you're starting to feel something that does not feel right, try not to push through. Try to let your body have adequate rest. It's all about just adding something, one thing at a time, so the body's not put into that overuse category.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense and super important for us to keep in mind as we all sort of like break out of the hibernation of the cold winter in the Midwest. And like you said, something as simple as, I'm transitioning my walks from inside to outside. And now all of a sudden I'm on a different terrain, a different surface. And all of a sudden now I've got some injuries that are creeping up. I will say, not only is that important, but I will plug you guys at the fitness center as a resource, right? We love and want everybody to join Front Street Fitness and to have it as an employee who has access. But you guys are also there to answer questions for those who aren't fitness center members or who are members and aren't getting into the center as often because you're going outside. So fsfitness@columbus.gov is your email inbox. That type of question is the kind of things you guys are there for as a resource to field for employees. So I would be remiss if I didn't plug that you guys are available for that type of question.
I love that. And another really important key to not developing shin splints is cross training. So if you are someone who is loving the weather and wants to go outside, and we do have a few members that stop in, head outside, come back to the center and either hop on an elliptical for the cool down or use the weights. So cross training is really important too, to strengthen those muscles and get those muscles trained in a lot of different ways. And we love to answer questions. For those that do visit the center, I'm kind of smiling right now because sometimes they're afraid to ask me questions because I won't stop talking. So yes, please.
Megan, I got to get out of here. I got to get back to work. I love that. That's so awesome. Well,
Thanks for inviting me back, Brandon.
Absolutely. We love getting a chance to talk to you and pick your brain about these things. It's so nice to have this as a resource and have your expertise and Tyler and everybody else at the center available for us to have these conversations. So that's the end of today's episode. I'm going to link everything down in the description. Make sure you guys are joining the fitness center if you aren't already. And we'll have you back soon. We'll have more of these conversations to have. And I appreciate you so much, Megan. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks, Brandon.
All right, guys, take care.